Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon.
Hello.
It's a wonderful afternoon. Thank you for coming. It's a very special occasion for Radnor, for Wayne, and for the groups involved in this presentation. Our leadoff speaker is not here at the moment. He's coming, so we're going to start anyway and work him in a couple of minutes. I'd like to thank our donors, first off, because without them and their generosity, this event would not be possible. I'd like to thank the Radnor Historical Society, North Wayne Protective Association, the Radnor Conservancy was a major donor, our county council, and we had about 25 individual donors, many of whom are here today. We've raised more than the cost of the marker because we plan to have a storyboard, photographs, and more history on the comfort station behind me. So when people come to Cowan Field, they get a much better idea of what the Natatorium looked like. And in case you don't know, if you turn around, this whole road, 500 feet, was a big swimming pool. And sometimes today it's swimming pool again. Unofficially, the angst of very many people who live here. The Natatorium was founded in 1895 and lasted until 1903. And we have some wonderful photographs and memorabilia which, when we get the storyboard up, give people a very good idea of what life was like back at that time. This is probably the largest swimming pool in the country, if not the world. And I'd like to start off with Commissioner Flora Becker from PHMC, who is a sponsor of the marker program. Flora?
Good afternoon. I'm so genuinely pleased to be here. I am not from Delaware County. I'm from Philadelphia County. And those of us in Philadelphia County who are interested in history did not know anything about this natatorium. I bring greetings to you from the governor and all of the other commissioners. The historical site program was established a number of years ago. It's one of the most wonderful, innovative programs Pennsylvania has because it really takes the opportunity to mark sites and allow people to become familiar with historical occasions, important people, important developments. And this particular site is wonderful because it brings us the knowledge about this amazing swimming pool, which reflected life in the Victorian era and which is now long past. It is very significant, and I do want to thank all of the people who worked on this marker dedication because it's significant and important and honors not just Radnor, but also the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Thank you.
Thank you, Flora. Now, a few brief words from Representative Greg Vitale.
Thank you for including me today. I understand it was Carla's relentlessness that got that done. It's always good when her relentlessness is not directed at you, but directed towards something good like this. Thank you to the head and the Historical Society for doing this. It's so important, really, to have people understand what went before them, to kind of give them that sense of place, how other people live, perhaps explain why they have wet basements, but it's also good for your understanding. So thank you for doing this. Thank you for including me, and keep up the great work. Thank you.
Now, the legislature was called back into session and Representative Bill Adolph was unable to make it today. He's sponsoring a couple of bills and had to be there for tomorrow's busy schedule. So in his stead, our own Hank Mahoney is going to make a presentation on his behalf as well as behalf of the township. Hank.
I had the privilege of representing the Board of Commissioners of Radnor Township for the dedication of this historical marker. Our thanks obviously goes to Carla Zambelli for her fascination with the Natatorium, and as Greg alluded to, her persistence in pursuing the historical marker. Our thanks also goes to the Radnor Historical Society, which partnered with Carla on the historical marker and worked with the commission in Harrisburg. I've been asked to present a citation that Bill Adolph was kind enough to secure from the House of Representatives. As Ted indicated, he was unable to be here today. So I'd like Carla Zambelli and Ted Pollard, President of the Historical Society, to come join me up here beneath the historical marker so I can read the citation. It is from the House of Representatives. Whereas the House of Representatives of Pennsylvania is always pleased to recognize those esteemed historical sites which contribute to preserving the continuity of Pennsylvania's great heritage. And whereas the Wayne Natatorium is being awarded a Pennsylvania State Historical Marker by the Pennsylvania Historic and Museum Commission. And whereas a 500-foot long, 100-foot-wide in-ground swimming pool created by the damming of the Gulf Creek in the 1800s, the Wayne Natatorium was lauded at its opening as the largest outdoor pool in the United States. Established by the Wayne Natatorium Association, the swimming pool officially opened in July 1985 and was the site of several annual national swimming championships. During its brief history, the Wayne Natatorium contributed to the enrichment and enjoyment of countless citizens and attracted athletes from across the country. Due to a drought and a decrease in swim enthusiasts, the pool was closed and drained and the land was sold in 1903. Now therefore, the House of Representatives of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania congratulates the Wayne Natatorium upon its richly deserved recognition, offers its hope that it will continue to be held in high regard as a historic symbol of this great Commonwealth, and directs that a copy of this citation sponsored by the Honorable William F. Adolph Jr. on September 17, 2010 be transmitted to the Radnor Historical Society, and it's signed by William J. Adolph Jr., sponsor, Keith R. McCall, Speaker of the House, and Anthony Frank Barbush, Chief Clerk of the House. And Bill asked me very specifically to make sure that Carla received a copy of this citation as well. So Carla, congratulations.
Thanks very much, Hank. That's quite an honor to get something like this. Thanks, Carla. It's wonderful. Our next speaker is going to be speaking on behalf of the County Council, Delaware County, Pat Biswanger.
Yeah, my name is Pat Biswanger. I work in the Solicitor's Office of Delaware County, but I'm actually here today for Andy Lewis, who had a really unavoidable family scheduling conflict, and he regrets very much that he can't be here because he thinks this is a wonderful project. And he asked me to, before I read the proclamation, just to give a few words on the tradition of volunteerism, which we think is just such a uniquely American tradition and something that really makes this country wonderful. I myself have had occasion to travel in countries where they don't have that tradition of volunteerism, specifically Romania recently. And I have to tell you, the results are really kind of sad, that you don't have people like Ted and Carla who step up to the plate and take on these projects you know, everyone waits for the government to do it. And it's just wonderful to see how there's so much volunteerism in this community. And it really is what makes our community strong and proud and prosperous. So I'd like, obviously, to encourage everybody to volunteer in whatever area is your passion, but also specifically to thank Ted for his work on behalf of the Radnor Historical Commission, and Carla for her many volunteer activities and her many passions. And now I'll read this proclamation. Excuse me, it's a resolution. Okay. Whereas the citizens of Radnor Township, which includes the historical community of Wayne, trace their heritage to early events in the settling of Pennsylvania, with the establishment of the municipality of Radnor as one of the original settlements within the area now known as Delaware County. And whereas the residents of Wayne, as well as the entire township, have demonstrated devotion to their community and its rich and proud history through outstanding patriotic and public service and the preservation of historic sites and heritage. And whereas, most recently, through the efforts of the Radnor Historical Society, and especially historian Carla Zambelli, a historic marker was approved by the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission to commemorate the location of the Wayne Natatorium, created by the damming of Gulf Creek to provide recreation use for swimming in the summer and ice skating in the winter in the later years of the 19th century and early years of the 20th century, when it was one of the largest freshwater pools in the nation. And whereas, although it lasted only 7 years, closing due to drought and the rising popularity of bicycling and golf, Wayne Natatorium has remained in the memory of the community for more than a century, nurtured partially by the only remaining artifact, namely, part of the building which served as the clubhouse and women's changing room. And whereas the unveiling of the historical marker on October 17, 2010 was scheduled to provide a permanent reminder of the Wayne Natatorium and its historic significance to the community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the County Council of Delaware County, hereby commend and congratulate the Township of Radnor and the Radnor Historical Society, and furthermore extend our sincere gratitude on behalf of the citizens of Delaware County to those township officials, historians, citizens, benefactors, and supporters for preserving such a historic treasure and perpetuating its importance not only to Radnor Township and the mainline region, but also to Delaware County. And it's signed by County Council members Jack Whalen, Christine Pisano-Cannon, Tom McGarrigle, Andy Lewis, and Mario Severa, and proclaimed October 17, 2010.
Thank you, Pat. Now, as many of you know, Carla is not from Radnor. So what is she doing here? Well, she's everywhere. But to tie this all together, we have our ringer here. Commissioner Scott Zeloff from Lower Merion is going to say a few words to bridge the gap between Radnor and Lower Merion and have eternal friendship except for football games.
Well, as you may know, Carla Zambelli is a Lower Merion resident, but in Lower Merion we're delighted to share Carla with you here in Radnor Township and all her passion and persistence, because her energy is remarkable, and this is yet another example. And I did not know a great deal about this until I read a little bit, and Carla invited me today, and of course hearing about it. But congratulations, Carla, for another accomplishment and job well done. And as Ted mentioned, this is another example of the cooperation between the townships, between Lower Merion Township and Radnor Township. There are many examples, and I hope there are many more in the future. Congratulations to the Historical Society and to Lower Merion Township, and of course to Carla.
Before we conclude, I'd like to recognize somebody who preceded us in our historical research, Jean LaRouche, who's over here behind the cameras. And she wrote a number of articles many years ago touting the history of not only Radnor Township with great sites here, but the Natatorium, and that was some of the ammunition that Carla got for this research for the marker. So thank you, Eugene. I'm going to turn this program over to Carla Zambelli, and as many of you have mentioned, she's tenacious. I have an email from her after we got turned down the first time that said, "Watch, I'll get it." She did. Carla?
I'm not sure if I need this. I'm Carla Zambelli. Yeah, I sort of go outside my municipal boundaries, and I love Radnor Township. I especially love North Wayne because I like the Victorian era, and I love the cottages and the houses. And the Wayne Natatorium, I first became aware of it when I was in high school, or shortly thereafter, and it was one of the articles that Jean LaRouche wrote. It was called The Haunting of the Wayne Natatorium. And it came out, I think it was around Halloween, because the Mainline Times used to do these little haunted articles, and they picked various sites, and it was neat. And then a few years ago, someone showed me this green book that had been put together by Suburban Publications for Radnor's big birthday, and said, look, you see this little street? It used to be a pool. And it just sort of snowballed from there, and I spent many Saturday afternoons with my friend Beverly Barnes going through the archives in Finley House, which, if none of you have visited Finley House, is a little slice of heaven. It is so much fun. There's so much of the past of Radnor there, and it's a great resource. And I figured, why not apply for this to be remembered, because as many times as this has been written about since the 50s, Emma C. Patterson, that was her name, Sam, wasn't it, the columnist from the Suburban? Patterson? Yes. She wrote 2 articles about the Wayne Auditorium that Greg Pritchard from the Historical Society captured, and that was one of the other things that captured my fancy. But all the time that the Wayne Auditorium had been written about, it was destined to become folklore unless it became a marker. So yeah, I'm a little tenacious, and I wrote my application and I rewrote my application, and I tortured Ted shamelessly. And here we are today. But this is all part of community preservation. I love small neighborhoods. I love the history of this area. I love the history of Pennsylvania. A lot of that has to do with my late father. It is completely his fault. I had Society Hill as a playground as a small child. And once you've had that, your appetite is whetted. So I encourage all of you, don't just talk about being involved in your historical society, in your community. You can do things like this. And I encourage you to do them, because we are our past. And to understand who we are today and where we're going in the future, we have to preserve what we were. So I want to thank Flora Becker and everybody at the state, and Dalen Leach and Greg Vitale and Elaine Schaefer and John Nagel and Hank Mahoney and my friend Dalen Leach and Scott Zeloff, because they all put up with me on a very regular basis. And I'm glad they're here today to share in this. And thank you, all of you, for being here to share in this. And close your eyes and you can hear what it used to sound like when it was a pool. Imagine in your mind's eye what it looked like in the winter under lights where they were selling gingerbread and ice skating. This is just cool. And there are so many places like this out there, and you know, if I had my druthers, I'd have all of them remembered. Thank you. Come on, Dalen.
Okay. Here's our leadoff speaker, Senator Dalen Leach.
Is this hello? Hi. 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 That's okay. I'll just park out. Oh, it's for the TV. Okay, I'm sorry. Hi. I'm sure by now everything's been said, but not everyone said it, so that's why I'm here. But no, I'm just grateful for the opportunity. I apologize for being late. I was at the Lower Merion High School dedication, and it was very interesting actually, because it was a sign of progress and all that. But one of the most stirring parts for me is walking through the hall and seeing the old pictures from back in the early days when the original high school, which was torn down, was dedicated, and seeing the old students there. They were all in their suits and ties. It was really cute. But it brought me, it reminded me of how important historic preservation is, and how important it is to share with our posterity not only stories of our past and of their heritage, but actual physical living representations of it, which is why this is so important and why Carla is so important. I appreciate, Carla, you mentioning me twice. I'm very grateful for that. And when Carla says we put up with her, I do not use the term put up with. But I would say that whatever term you use, we don't have that much of a choice. I mean, Carla is a ubiquitous presence, and believe me, whatever the cause is, I want Carla on my side. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming out. And are we doing the unveiling in a minute?
Yeah, but I need a tall guy.
Okay, Vitali. Here you go. I'll help if you want.
But once we get this cover off, please join us for some refreshments on the other side of the section. We'll see what we can do.
It's really here.
That's beautiful.
It would have been embarrassing if it was like blank.
Do you think they would have let it be blank after all this?
That's great.
And it's on both sides too.
Now we just have to check all the spelling.
So can we swim? Is
Hey,
that
hey, Ted, why don't you read it?
A week ago.
Last week.
Natatorium, among the largest open-air in-ground swimming pools in the U.S. It was opened in 1895. Measured 500 feet by 100 feet. Spring-fed pool.
Congratulations.
Swimming Association Championships in the late 19th century. Although female swimmers were unable to participate in competitive events, the Wayne Natatorium is open to women. Pool closed in 1903 as a result of drought and the shift in popularity to other forms of recreation. Here we have